On today's episode, we find out which Packers jerseys will soon be on sale at the Packers Pro Shop. Crosby Posse Packer Nation, welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where we don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom Grossi, and I figured we'd end the week a Friday and make it a free agent Friday as we take a look at the Green Bay Packers unrestricted free agents coming up. Who is going to remain on the team, who should remain on the team, and who's going to be in that clearance rack. But before we get to that, I want to do a big shout out and thank you to 3 new Patreon members over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy, and that is PNO, Nathaniel Fox, and a Tanner Mike 3. Thank you very, very much, you 3, and you could always check me out and support me at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy for some cool rewards like me shouting out your name. So the millions and thousands, just the thousands of people listen to thee. Thank you. So today all we're going to take a look at is the 13 unrestricted free agents that the Green Bay Packers are going to have to make a decision on for this upcoming season. Now, obviously, we can't keep all of them. Brian Bulaga came out today and had a wonderful 30-minute press conference. And I say wonderful is that because I just love how, honest he is and transparent. He was asked about speed on the defense and said how much we needed that. We talked about wide receiver. He talked about potentially a new quarterback. It was nice. It was really, really nice for him to kind of give some transparency to the fans, and not to say that that's been lacking, but I feel like it's just we're fans of a damn good football team. That's what I'll say about that. Now, let's get into it. Let's start from the bottom, and then we'll be here. So one of the most recent updates to our roster is the addition of Tyler Irvin, the running back that we wound up signing and also served as our punt and kick returner. This is a guy who I would love to see more of. He came on obviously late in the season and made an immediate difference while we were having guys like Darius Shepard in the backfield returning kicks and getting 0 yards or negative yards. Irvin actually got us positive numbers, which was phenomenal. And on top of that, he was showing off his versatility, whether it was in the passing game or even rushing it a couple times. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him get picked up to about a 1-year deal just to kind of see how it goes. Obviously, Aaron Jones was one of our most productive receivers, even though he was a running back, and Irvin showed flashes of that as well. So I think his versatility and the fact that we don't have a designated kick returner or punt returner, I think makes him pretty darn valuable, and I would love to see him back. Then you got strong safety Ibraheim Campbell. Obviously was injured the vast majority of the year. Didn't come off the IR list until November. And this is one of those guys who can definitely make an impact when he's on the field. He's been a veteran for about 5 years at this point. And I think that considering the help that we need at safety and how we're still, we're not fully there yet in that backfield, I think he's a good addition, especially as a body for camp. And I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks around for at least another year, or at least to compete in training camp. Then you got inside linebacker B.J. Goodson. And Goodson's one of those guys who works his tail off, works really, really hard. But, this is a position for the Green Bay Packers that we have needed desperately for years and years and years. And obviously we're going to talk about another inside linebacker momentarily. But with B.J. Goodson, maybe they keep him around as a body, but I would not be surprised if this is one of the major focal points of the offseason. So Goodson for me, I don't see him coming back. Again, might just be utilized as a body, but for the most part, I would not be surprised if Goody kind of just clears house with the inside linebackers that we have and really just goes out and gets either a veteran from free agency or puts a lot of stock into this position in the draft. Then you got outside linebacker Kyler Fackrell, otherwise known from last season, Kyler Sacral. Yeah, after posting double-digit sacks last year, only had one this year. So obviously, with the signing of Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith and the drafting of Rashawn Gary, it didn't look good for good old Sacral. But, he's one of those guys that, had a big impact last year because there really was just a lack of talent at that position. And he'd made the most of his opportunities, and good on him. But I don't see Sacral returning, unfortunately. I'll miss him. But I think that considering the depth that we currently have at outside linebacker and how Matt LaFleur came out yesterday in his press conference and talked about definitely wanting to keep Rashawn Gary at outside linebacker, I don't see him coming back. Then you got wide receiver Ryan Grant. Yep, the guy that we signed and we were like somewhat excited from the Raiders, and then we're like, oh, this might work out, and he never played a snap. Nope. Then you got tackle Jason Spriggs. I think we definitely need to get some more depth on that offensive line. We lucked out this year by not having a ton of injuries, but I would think that we're going to upgrade over Spriggs, and so I don't see us bringing Jason Spriggs back. One of the guys I could potentially seeing signing a short-term deal is right tackle Jared Veldheer. Yeah, the guy that we wound up picking up who was like, I'm going to retire, and then he was like, no, never mind, I'm going to play. Played in the Minnesota game and also played for the Lions game, obviously replacing the injured Bryan Bulaga after he went out with a concussion. And this was a great, late season pickup, and it paid dividends, obviously. Now, when Bulaga was healthy, he wasn't really necessary, but it provided that depth and actually that reliability at that right tackle position. He's obviously a temporary solution there, as the guy is 32 and not getting any younger. I mean, the guy was literally just about to retire. But maybe he comes back for a one-year deal. I could see it kind of going either way, but I could also see them still looking in the draft for a young right tackle to either replace Veldheer or potentially even back up and eventually replace Bryan Bulaga. Then we got the big dog, Marcedes Lewis. Yes. Oh, the carousel of tight ends, it just goes round and round and round and round. This is one of the harder ones to decipher because Marcedes Lewis, had some big time catches, obviously not incredibly productive in the passing game, more of a blocking tight end, but it's getting a little crowded back there, right? So we have Tanyan, we have Marcedes Lewis, we have Jay Sternberger, and of course we have Jimmy Graham. Now, who knows about Jimmy Graham? Goody came out today and said he was under the impression that Jimmy Graham was still going to play next year. Are we going to let him? We'll find out. I kind of hope not. But Marcedes Lewis obviously has that locker room leadership, veteran presence, which I think is absolutely needed, especially with a young team. Maybe they sign him for another year. He has obviously shown interest that he wants to return, but it might just be a factor of, hey, there's already so many tight ends on the team that are most likely not all going to be there come training camp. Maybe we go out and sign another one from free agency, or maybe we draft again. I don't even know. I don't think that'd be the case considering we just got Sternberger. Yeah, Marcedes Lewis to me is right on the edge there. I would rather keep Marcedes Lewis than Jimmy Graham though at this point. I got to be completely honest. But that's just me. Then we have Mason Crosby. Yes, the man, the myth, the legend. Don't touch him. I don't care how old he gets. I don't care how silvery his mane gets. I want to keep him. The guy has proven that he can still be hella reliable, and I love him. Goody, do not get rid of him. I'm not ready to say goodbye. So I'm going to say he comes back because I don't know what I'm going to do if he doesn't. Then you got wide receiver Geronimo Allison. Yep, this one hurts. This one is a punch right in the gonads. I had such high hopes for Geronimo Allison this year. After going on a tear in the beginning of the season last year, and then he got hurt, I was like, oh man, he's going to come back with a vengeance this year. And he did not. No, he did not. He did not step up into a wide receiver core that was wide open for the taking. A number 2 never emerged. Goody came out and said that again today and reiterated that in today's press conference. And you have guys like Allen Lazard who stepped up, which was great. But, Geronimo Allison had fumbling issues, couldn't hang on to the ball, had drop issues. But again, you could say this about guys like MVS, right? You could say that, Kumaro wasn't really even targeted so much. The fact is we need a number 2. We absolutely do. And whether that's Allen Lazard or not, I think Geronimo Allison, is not going to make the cut. Maybe he comes back in camp, but yeah, no, sorry. Then you got the man that never ages, cornerback Tramon Williams. Listen, the guy has still played very, very well at a high level, even with his age. And I think at this point, we still have no sure answers at cornerback, right? You have Kevin King, who is hot and cold, right? You have Josh Jackson, which, who the hell knows what's going on there? And they got Jair Alexander. So, I mean, at this point, I feel like you bring him back for a year. You probably address it in the draft. Maybe you sign a free agent, but I think they would go more draft here. And pray that Josh Jackson winds up evolving and taking over that spot. But for right now, I feel like we're at the point where we kind of have to. You know, it'll be a year, cheap deal, and Tramon Williams probably take it. And then we move on with our lives. Then we got the first out of 2 major free agents coming out of the Green Bay Packers this year. And the first being inside linebacker Blake Martinez. Blake Martinez getting emotional after the 49ers game, talking about how much thankful he was to be a Green Bay Packer, how much he loves the team. And the guy is a tackling machine, absolutely. He has led the Packers many occasions, 4 tackles. The problem is he's god-awful in coverage, and his mistakes are big. They're absolutely big. And I think that, you know, Blake Martinez, young guy, he's gonna, as many others have said, he's probably gonna fetch a pretty decent-sized contract in free agency. And I think it's at this point that the Packers just need to move on from him. I think we need to actually put some stock in that position. We've been kind of just like putting patches on it for a while, but like this wound is bleeding pretty wide open, and we need some real speed at that position. I mean, we even were having Clay Matthews back in the day move over into inside linebacker. So I think, we're going to let Blake Martinez go, and I think that's honestly just for the best. And then finally, you got right tackle Bryan Bulaga. Now, this guy, listen, he had one hell of a season. He actually remained healthy for the majority of the year, and even if he wasn't, he still played through it like a trooper, and the guy was just incredible at right tackle this year. Now, obviously, he's getting older. You know, that's just the reality of it. We do need to find a replacement for him, but I could totally see him coming back for a short-term contract, so we could potentially, groom his protege to step on up and take that position eventually. But I think Bryan Bulaga still has a good year left in him. And it's just a matter of, will the Packers be willing to pay him? But that's what I'm thinking out of our unrestricted free agents. Who do you think we're re-signing? Who do you think we're letting walk away? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. You could always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course the YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the Patreon members over at patreon.com/Tom Grossi Comedy. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.